Let me start by saying today's video is sponsored by APS. Now, I've been a fan of airsoft shotguns for many a year. I love how they look, I love how they function, but especially the shell ejecting ones. And APS as a company has brought out a few. Now, a few years ago, they brought out the iconic APS Cam 870, and I never got round to purchasing one, and now they're getting harder and harder to find in stock, and I'm talking about the absolute original one. There are updated versions now that look exactly the same, but the absolute original one is becoming scarce. But I managed to buy one and it's coming soon, possibly next week. But anyway, let's get to today as I unbox a brand new on the market APS shell ejecting CO2 shotgun. Now, I know you've seen the thumbnail and you're thinking, hold on, this is not brand new on the market. Well, you'd be forgiven for thinking that, but it is. This is the Mark III version. The one that looks identical to it is the Mark II, and there are some considerable differences. So today, if you like, is a premiere showing of this shotgun. Now, this particular one is a sample model. So it's the shotgun itself. They've supplied me with some shells and a CO2 charging adapter, but I don't have the wads or the seals. But don't worry about that, I'll be showing you around this shotgun today. I'll show you how it functions, and I'll do some homemade wads and seals just so I can do a very quick shooting test. But there will be a part 2 to this video where I will have the proper wadding and the proper seals and some alternative ones too, and I will do a proper shooting test. And I may even incorporate that with the unboxing of the other APS shotgun that I've also got coming. That one I paid for, but today's one I got for free. So again, thank you to APS for sending it to me. So let's do this. As shown and as I just said in the title, it's the all-new Mark III system. Now, if you're wondering what sets this apart from the Mark I and the Mark II, we'll go into that in a little while. But first of all, can I just say, the build quality on this is solid. So let's go through the externals, then we'll talk about this whole Mark III system, and we'll go through how to get these ready and what else you will need apart from these. Now, before I go any further, and if you are a long-time viewer of my channel, you will know there's something I have to do just to get that airsoft shotgun approval on my channel. So here goes. Oh, ha, ha, nice. And when I shake this thing, trust me when I say the only rattling you will hear is from your sling point. Right, so starting from the back, you've got this, what I perceive to be a very nice looking and quite a comfortable grip. And if you take a look on the rear right here, you can see you have an opportunity to remove this grip and have a full stock on the back. And at the top of the grip, you've got your Co2 branding and your rear sling point. And moving along further, you've got your unique serial number and the model of this particular system or shotgun. And as I said before, this is the Mark III. And I'm glad they put that on there, to be fair, because there's a Mark II out there that looks very, very similar. But right here in the photo that I'm showing you, this is the Mark II version. And as you can see on the bolt, on the bottom right hand side, is the CO2 valve. Yes, you would fill the bolt up with your CO2. But with this latest version, the Mark III that I've unboxed today, look, on the bolt, there's no fill valve. You go back to put in the CO2 straight into the shell. And that's not all. The internals of the shotgun has been modified. Now, what's the advantages of that over the Mark II? Well, the Mark II only had an FPS of around 220 to about 250. With the Mark III, we're looking at about 330 to 360 FPS. So moving along, we have the action release lever right there. Now, those of you who are familiar with whether it be real or airsoft shotguns will know that your action release will allow you to, say for example, load it up with your shells. Then if you decide, actually I don't want to fire this, I want to retrieve that shell or cartridge, you can hold down that action lever, pump it, and it will eject. So you have your safety button right here where if I push it in, and you see the red, it's ready to fire, which leads to very fast shooting, but there's no point having a quick trigger finger if your pump action game is not on point. I tell you what, it's very firm, it's not loose at all, so you'll get a good old workout of the biceps. Ouch. This is where you have your loading gate or loading port or shell elevator, many different names, but yeah, that's where you load your shotgun. But if you're that way inclined, you can pop another little cheeky one right there. So it's 4+1. Nice. Now before I go any further, I may as well flip it around and show you the other side as we get to the real business end of this shotgun. And the reason why I'm doing that is because we're going to get to the Tubular Magazine. Now, at the front here is your magazine cap. Now, if we move along back down here to the ejection port, if I pump it and show you just down there, that's the other end of the magazine. And of course, you've got your front sling point and your tiny little bead front sight. And if I show you down the barrel of this shotgun, you will see there's no inner barrel because it truly does perform just like the real thing. Okay, so before I put any CO2 and all the other stuff you need to put in here to get these to work, I'm going to load them up into this shotgun just to make sure everything else is functioning correctly. So we've got 4 in the actual magazine tube down here. But if I open this up, you can see that the first shell is already being pushed up and ready to be fired. Now again, there's nothing in these shells. So if I want to get this shell back out, press the action release and ready for it? Nice. And let me just bring it back up to the camera. You can see the next shell sitting down there, ready and waiting. See that? And it's in. So if you recall earlier on, I mentioned that there is something else that you will need to get these operational. And that's one of these bad boys. This is an 88 gram CO2 capsule. And just so you can appreciate the size difference between a standard size capsule, look at that. So what you need to do, as you can see, it has a threaded end just here that will screw into this, and just like its little cousin, you need to pierce the top of this capsule right here using your adapter. And note, as I'm screwing it, you will hear that familiar quick little hissing noise, and that's where these cartridges come into play, because if you look down the center just there, that's where you would fill it up with CO2. So we simply just line it up and push down, and I would say about 2 to 3 seconds worth of CO2. Now before I go any further, let me just show you that you can actually separate the base on the cartridge. Although APS supplies you with an adapter that is long enough so that you can fill these up with CO2 without separating the two parts, some people may find it just a little bit easier filling it up when it's separated. Also, Because APS didn't supply me with the wadding and the seal, you can actually do your own DIY wadding and seals, and it's a lot easier to do that with it separate. So basically what I've done is I've cut out some discs. Okay, at this point I've decided to fade down the audio track for this video so that I can tell you in this voiceover that this is just a makeshift wad and seal that I'm making just so I can fire off at least one shot to make sure everything is working as it should be. There will be a proper shooting test and chrono test of this brand new APS cam mkIII SF in about a week or two, which will be incorporated into the video of my unboxing of the original cam 870. So what you're seeing me do on screen right now is not something I would personally want to keep doing. I would personally prefer to use the original wads and seals from APS and some other professionally made wads and seals that I've also seen on the market. Right, let me bring the main audio track back up because I need to point something out to you. And if you look carefully down there, about halfway down this cartridge, you can see there's threading. So I've made sure not to put too many BBs in and to make sure that little homemade wadding is pushed down enough so that the threading on the base can reach the threading on this shell cartridge right here. So let's do this. So I'm gonna load up this cartridge. Now again, I can do it from there or I can do it from here. Now because I've got my homemade wadding and seal on this, I'm gonna play it safe and just load it straight in there. And let's see what results we get. Now I could zoom in so you can see this closer, but no, I want you to see me fire this at this target, just to see if it worked. Oh, get in! That was like a buckshot. But anyway, look at that. That absolutely ripped it a new one. Now, if you're wondering why did it make such a huge hole, well, there's a couple of things you got to take into consideration. One, I was extremely close to the target, so the BBs had no chance to start to spread, as you would expect from a shotgun. So effectively, they all came out together and hit its target before they could spread. And of course, my crude homemade wadding and seal, they're not the best thing to use really, and they were possibly a little too heavy, so that too would have had an impact on the target. But wait, it's not over yet. Haha, my favourite part. Get in! And it even hit the camera tripod. Right, let's see how fast I can pump, pull the trigger and pump again until it's empty. Right, here we go again. Now remember, because it's not a real shotgun, at least I don't have to also deal with the kick and recover from that before I pump it again. So a little advantage there. Here we go. Okay, I kind of hesitated after the first one, but yeah, as quick as you can pump and pull that trigger, this bad boy will keep up with you. So there you go, that was part one of a preview of this brand new APS cam MK3 SF. Yes, the MK3 system. Part 2, as I mentioned before, will be coming very soon, where you will get a full shooting test and chrono test. Thanks for watching, and thank you so much to APS for sending this out to me. But even if you don't want to wait for part 2, check the video description down below, where there will be a direct link to this APS cam MK3 and an array of other APS products.